Hi, thanks for watching. I'm going to talk about Pakistan hosting South Africans in about 3 to 4 weeks' time. First Test cricket in a while that I've put on video. Obviously had a big coverage of the Ashes on my blog. If you need to know that, it's clwalcott.tumblr.com. But I haven't actually, there hasn't been anything else really happening in Test cricket until recently. Most of the notes I wrote for this series and will refer to were before the Zimbabwe-Pakistan Test series that recently concluded. Now, I don't do video previews of Zimbabwe or Bangladesh yet, mainly because they haven't really proven their relevance. Zimbabwe may be on the way to do so. I won't go into too much history about them as yet. We'll see if I think it's worthy of having a video preview at some point in the future. But they did beat Pakistan in a Test match and drew that series 1-1 in Zimbabwe. I'm going to put that down primarily to a hiccup. Pakistan have a strong historical tendency to play down to their opposition, and indeed up to their opposition, and not being very minnow-prone, if you like. That's changed a lot under Misbah. They've become a lot more solid and, if you like, a more boring unit than people tend to think of Pakistan. But nevertheless, I still think that this is more of a hiccup. I don't think it's going to impact the series tremendously, but obviously it does put a little bit of, or adds another element of mystery to what is already a pretty hard to predict series. We'll talk about Pakistan first, and they'll be the dominant form of this video. These two met in South Africa in January, I think it was, possibly February or December even, but in South Africa in the southern summer. Pakistan got beaten comprehensively. I won't say cream. Certainly they had their very bad moments. In fact, we'll look at their batting against the new ball was abysmal, as one might imagine, with Stein, Morkel and Philander against an Asian team in their own conditions. 49 all out, 4 for 82, 4 for 66, 3 for 61, 5 for 95 and 2 for 76. The average score after 30 overs was 5 for 71, which is obviously not good. That will be less of an issue, one would imagine, in the United Arab Emirates. Asian conditions, slower conditions. Stein, Philander and Morkel are going to have a lot more work to do to take new ball wickets. And so when you take that out of the equation, Pakistan held up reasonably well. Now, that it was such an extreme problem that it didn't matter in the context of the series very much. But I want to also look at the second test in that series, where Pakistan arguably could have won if they picked Abdul Rahman, who we're going to talk about in a moment, or Rahman. The second test, to be fair, it was built on sand, their winning position. 2/3 of the runs came from Asad Shafiq and Yunus Khan. Both had 111 in that test match. But I want to focus on the slow bowling versus pace bowling numbers for Pakistan. When they bowled a slow bowler, they took 11 for 182 in that second test. Pace bowlers took 5 for 301 in that test. Pakistan went away from Abdul Rahman, and kept picking these pace bowlers, very unproven pace bowlers. They used 6 pace bowlers in 3 tests. Those 6 pace bowlers averaged 45.89 in South Africa. They took 19 for 872. And Pakistan did what a lot of teams do, like what Australia have sometimes done, is get away from what they're good at. And what they're good at is bowling slow. They have Mohammad Hafiz, who, yes, he's had some batting problems recently, but is still one of the best all-rounders in world cricket. His numbers comfortably stack up with Shane Watson, who gets much more acclaim. But Abdur Rahman, who they left out, since his recall in 2011, he's taking 4.7 wickets a match at 24.78. Econ rate is 2.41. That's in 13 test matches. Really, really strong numbers. In the United Arab Emirates, he's a fraction better. 4.8 wickets a match at 23.5. 2.36 economy rate. And if you look at the teams he's played, you might go, well, is it weak opposition? No, it's not. The most comparable card he had to facing the South Africans was the English. Took 6.3 wickets a match at 16.73. This is a really, really, really good bowler. One of the best, well, easily one of the best slow bowlers in the world, and probably second only to Swan and his teammate Syed Ajmal. We're going to come back to that point in a moment. We talk about South Africa. Pakistan are very strong in the United Arab Emirates. Since 2010, when they called it their home, away from home as it were, they're undefeated there. They've never lost a test match since 2010 in the UAE. That's 8 matches. South Africa was was a pair of those 8 matches. They drew that series 0-0. A very high scoring series, scores of 380, 2 for 318 declared, 3 for 343, 9 for 584, and 434. So as one would expect in Asia, a lot of runs, and again, not that new ball potency that you would see in South Africa, which is going to help Pakistan. They play a very, again, boring brand of cricket. They don't play a lot of strokes in their batting card. They rely on making to 250, 300 and taking up a lot of overs, absorbing time. And similarly with the ball, Abdul Rahman, we talked about his economy rate. Syed Ajmal, Mohammad Hafiz, two left-handers is going to be a big theme of this series. Graham Smith's in lots of trouble. Misbah al-Haq is one of the best captains in world cricket, again, despite the Zimbabwean hiccup. And you'll see Mohammad Hafiz to Graham Smith. I think he's going to win the battle. Mohammad Hafiz has been very good to left-handers. Guys like Alistair Cook have suffered when he opens the bowling. So Pakistan will do things South Africa are not expecting and in conditions that are going to suit the Pakistanis. I nearly mentioned this before. We talked about Pakistan slow bowling. You look at what South Africa is going to face that up with, and this is a key point of this series. Robin Peterson is really the only guy I know who's going to play for them. They may pick Imran Dahir, who's got big time economy rate problems. So the one guy who could let the valve off or the break off the Pakistani scoring. I don't know if Imran Dahir will play. Otherwise, Johan Botha is another option. But there's very, very slim pickings in the slow bowling stakes. Robin Peterson's first class numbers, forget about the test numbers, are 2.8 wickets a match, very low at 31.87 with an econ above 3. He's really an all-rounderish kind of first class bowler. His test match record is not terrible, but it's certainly not good. 2.6 wickets a match, which shows you again how periphery he's been in their attack at 32.45. In that Pakistan series, he took just 2 wickets a match at 38.17, despite all the new ball wickets that were flying around, which should really be a red flag again for the South Africans. You look at Peterson plus question marks versus Mohammad Hafiz, Syed Ajmal, and Abdur Rahman in conditions that are strongly going to suit slow bowling, you have to imagine, and suit batting, which also suits slow bowling. The all ball is going to be much more important than it was in South Africa. That's a mismatch of epic proportions and one that could very much turn this series. I don't have too many concerns about their batting card, South Africa. I think that Amla and Callis in particular have proven players of slow bowling and very good players of slow bowling. I think that their batting card is comfortably, by far, more so than their bowling is the best in world cricket. I think South Africa's batting is the best in world cricket. I think they will get their runs, and I think the most likely series to play a bit of a spoiler is 0-0. I think there's going to be huge amounts of runs, just as there was last time. I think it's going to be a similar result to what it was then. But if there's going to be a winner, I think it will be Pakistan because of those numbers there you're looking at. Where are the wickets going to come from when this new ball is going to be blunted, obviously, by the conditions? Dale Steyn, let's look at that. Was that going to be the case? And you know, how much can you really count on that? They're still really class bowlers. We've never seen Philander in Asia. I think he'd probably play quite well there. I think his game looks a really good one for Asian conditions, but we've never actually seen that from Vernon Philander. Dale Steyn in Asia, taking out his Bangladesh games, is very good. 4.5 wickets a match at 26.89. That'll go up with any pace bowler, non-Asian pace bowler in Asia ever, just about, I would suggest. But in his last visit in 2010, which included that UAE series, 4.3 wickets a match at 29.47, a lot more modest. And then in the Pakistan series, 3 wickets a match at 46.33. So again, relying on Dale Steyn might be a bit of a fool's errand in this series. Again, you've got Philander's unproven, Morkel, who does not look like a good matchup at all. I mean, he relies on bounce. There's not going to be any bounce in these pitches. And Dale Steyn, they'll probably be pretty okay. They're fine bowlers, but they're not going to be match-winning bowlers. And the wickets for South Africa are going to be very sparse on the ground once that ball does get to 30 overs. If Pakistan have 2, even 3 down after 30 overs, they'll be in a strong position because South Africa have very few options to go with. That said, I am going to go 0-0. I'm even more confident that it's going to be 0-0 after watching the Zimbabwean shock. I do leave the door a bit more ajar for a South African victory than I did before. They're a very good team, but it's just the wrong environment. And Pakistan, look, they beat England 3-0. They haven't been beaten at all in these conditions. I guess I'm taking the safe pick, as I often do with these previews, but I am going to go 0-0. And I do still think that if anyone's going to win a test match, it will be the Pakistanis, probably on the back of Ajmal and Rahman just bowling through an entire day, getting through 65, 70 overs between them. And once you get past Amla and Callis, there are question marks. De Villiers been fine, but I'm not so sure. I think Smith got big problems against Hafiz. and a lot of unknowns when you look at Dean Elgar and Peterson himself with the bat and stuff. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm picking 0-0 in this series. Thanks for watching, guys.